We're going to be talking with the minority leader in the 36th Guam legislature, Senator Chris Duenas. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Bree. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Jason. Glad to be here with you guys this morning.
Half a day.
Half a day.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Senator.
Sure.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm scared to ask.
Yeah. Well, I think the 2 points I wanted to make today in terms of like what's being discussed in the minority, amongst other things, is for this session, it looks like the most critical bills that we'll be discussing will be the finance bills, the one related to the hospital, of course, the $35 million, as well as the $5 million for DOC. When we had Department of Corrections budget oversight and other meetings that we had with them on bills that have been introduced, if you really look at their plan for constructing a new prison, they are really, really far along. In fact, I think they probably might have the architect and engineering maybe even close to being done. And so really, if you look at DOC, I think they're really ready to go. I think that $5 million should really be secured. And you guys know they need it. They need it for really three major reasons. The biggest thing is safety and security, of course, and as well as expanding. And the other thing is, of course, it really almost pays for itself, because the overtime that they're currently incurring and the manpower requirements for that antiquated prison, really, I think that hopefully we pass that and that money does get locked up. Now with the $35 million for the hospital, I think there's still a lot of questions about that, because it just, even yesterday, during the update from the hospital to the legislature on all of their different CIPs and different things, as well as, they're really, really having to manage. They've done a lot of reconfiguring for this COVID. They're doing a great job with regard to that. But as far as the hospital plans are concerned, I think they're really, really still kind of just in the formulation. They really haven't even secured the property yet. And so I think on that $35 million, maybe we could pass the financing bill, but I think that the chairman basically has admitted that that $35 million probably will be used for other purposes. I think after this session, we really should get together and I'm going to speak to the chairman about it and sit down and make a final decision. As you know, it's over appropriated in terms of how many bills have been introduced to use the ITC reimbursement. And I just don't think it's a good way for us to set that example. I think we should, amongst ourselves and definitely during a roundtable, deal with all these bills and basically figure out what our priorities are and go forward with regard to that. If you look at the EITC reimbursement combined with the ACTC now that's fully funded and no longer an unfunded mandate, that's over $100 million in terms of relief to the general fund. That's why I know before I came on, we were in the midst of the issue of it was hot and heavy with regard to payment of RISE Act, and that has settled down now. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the budget. So, kind of rolling into that, right? You take the EITC, you take the ACTC reimbursement. This year, we're realizing the $30-some million after having gone out and refund the bonds. And then as well, we got an increase in Section 30. So it's really not hard to figure out why this budget, why we were very conservative in the area of BPT. And the reason why is, we know the governor has a lot of flexibility in terms of the kind of finances she's dealing with. So we locked that down, and we also locked down the transfer authority to make sure, that the budget would be, stable. But we also think going forward, a lot of us within the minority think that it's time to start talking about possible BPT relief again for the businesses, because there really is, if you really break it down, there's a lot of resources now, within the government. And then of course you have that $600 million piggy bank, which we still don't have a plan for. But yesterday we found out that the hospital got almost $8 million. So maybe we'll continue to find out information as we go forward. But for session this time, I think the big deal is those finance bills. I would really like to see DOC, move forward. I think that's something that the entire community. Of course, it's not really sexy or popular, to talk about an issue where, people are not overly concerned. You'd rather talk about our kids, schools, education, for financing. But that is a critical area of public safety, and it's something that I think the team at DOC has done a good job putting together.
Right, then let's start with the Department of Corrections, because we did have Major Anton Uggan on our program yesterday, and he did talk about today is the day that they are going to be making a presentation to the governor. As you know, Information to Energy, the consultant, has been working with DOC since February, I believe, to come up with this master plan, which was paid for with DOI grant money. And have you, by any chance, or any member of the legislature, had an opportunity to look at this plan? Or is there plans to present it to the legislature as well?
I have not, but I know that that's what Major Anton and their team had said was what they were going to do, and Director Carbolito, what they were going to do was presented to the governor, and then shortly after they were going to ask us for an opportunity to come and come before us, and so that is great. The timing is really good, and I think the passage of this bill will be something that will secure that, and I think it's the proper investment, and once again, kudos to their team. That really is a major accomplishment.
Right, yeah, and especially considering the fact that with the consultant, they did get a chance to tour some of facilities in Michigan and someplace else I can't remember. So I guess it's going to be part of their
Michigan and Ohio.
Part of their overall.
Yeah, because Major Uggan said he went to Saginaw,
Mm-hmm.
the Saginaw prison in Michigan, and I believe they were in Northeast Ohio too.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, because of your experience as a former director of DYA, this way.
Right, absolutely, and the thing is, I know that's why this has really been under development for a long time, and what's really good as well is, there was speculation before that they were gonna change their footprint, look for a different location and everything else, and now that they can do that, and they've engineered it to where they can do it on their current footprint, it really just makes it all that more much more feasible going forward. And so yeah, definitely, man, I tell you, I work closely with those guys at the special operations team sort, and they would help us once in a while when we had kids who would run away and things like that. So yeah, a great team over there, a lot of very experienced people. But I tell you, the many visits that I did over there with different administrations and everything else, and you've seen it yourself firsthand, Bree and Chris, and you guys have been up there, and it really is just something that is so difficult to manage. So I'm really glad they're moving forward, and I hope we pass that bill. I certainly am going to vote for it.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see this plan, especially if they're talking about possibly building a vertical, and I guess it's a multiple step phased in plan for 80 years or whatever, but starting first with a 600 cell facility.
Right.
So
definitely, and I mean, who knows? Maybe a modern prison with a correctional facility, if you will, maybe with more opportunities. Maybe we can reduce recidivism. Maybe with the ability to really control contraband so much better. We can get through some of the dependency issues and some of the things that a lot of our prisoners, those who have been convicted and are incarcerated, or even those who are awaiting trial, maybe there will be more opportunities for rehabilitation. And so, there is a bright side also, I think, a possible bright side, other than just the fact that it's the right thing to do, because we're probably, always teetering on being out of compliance. It's the right thing to do because the officers deserve a proper working environment. It's the right thing to do because, even if you just look at it from a fiscal perspective, it pays for itself almost. So when you put all that stuff together, but I would hope also that, maybe one final result is that the facility has, so many opportunities built in that maybe rehabilitation and recidivism can go down, because, you have a facility that's more conducive to probably, containing and incarcerating, but then also other opportunities as well. So kudos to the team, and I look forward to see what they can do when it comes to fruition.
Moving on to the Guam Memorial Hospital, I found it interesting that you mentioned that they actually got ARP money, because we did have the hospital administrator on last week, and we did ask whether or not she had received any money, in ARP money from the governor, and her answer at the time was no, but that it would be forthcoming. Here we are now a week later, and you're saying that they received ARP money. Did they say where this money is, what it's going to be used for?
Yeah, Lillian did mention that it was going to be used for vendor payables. Nothing really specific, but I think they have some aging that is probably, I think they mentioned could be in excess of 90 days. So certainly they got to bring that aging down and make sure they stay current with their vendors. Kind of interesting, because they mentioned that they were disappointed with the budget, yet it was their request. And so the speaker kind of reminded them, this was your request. I think one of the other highlights, Bree, was, I asked also if their capital improvement projects, the roof and all the other things that were done during the assessment. Kando said, most of the assessments in terms of immediate repairs needed still totals about $22-25 million. But that remains to be unfunded as well. So we're going to have to continue to work very closely with the hospital. I think Senator Addo really was asking a lot of the poignant questions with regard to the medical examiner. I know that you guys have really worked on that story for a long time as well. I think it's time to, kind of clamp down on that again. I think it's really critical for the people of Guam that we, not wait any longer. Now, I know this is not GMH's full responsibility, but I think that because they're co-located, and the pressures on them in terms of classifications of death, especially recently with death on arrivals, folks dying outside of the hospital, and the requirement for some sort of review. So Bree, I hopefully they bring that up at their next board meeting and really kind of clamp down on, they've got to push the issue with the AG's office and everything else to make sure that this gets done, because I have a feeling as well, I mean, they didn't quite come out and say it, but I have a feeling that some of the issues with regard to remains, are also associated with having to make sure that there's an examination and a report before they release the body. Now, they did mention that there is also some logistical issues with funeral homes and families because of COVID having difficulty getting their paperwork done and being able to, bring their family members to the funeral home for final services. But also, alongside that is the issue of the medical examiner. And I think that should really be near the top of the list for GMH and for the governor for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it can't be said enough how much we appreciate everyone at the Guam Memorial Hospital. Right, but something that was mentioned here on the show, even just yesterday, was this COVID fatigue that's going on with all of our frontliners, but more particularly at GMH. They just shut down elective surgeries indefinitely because of staff shortages and the hospitalizations. Was that brought up in terms of how short they are with staff and the need for more nurses and the resignation of 3 physicians?
I did actually it wasn't couched directly like that, but what I did ask was with their, with the fact that they're not doing elective surgeries, because we have got some inquiries as well at the office that, we call them elective surgeries, right? But a lot of them are really critical, that people are in chronic pain, different issues, they're elective in nature, but if not done, can progress. And so I asked if GRMC is also, if they've had communication. Lillian said she would get back to us. She would inquire after that meeting whether or not GRMC has suspended that service as well, so that our people of Guam kind of know, what's going on. But yeah, definitely they mentioned that they're really continuing to count on a lot of their federal dollars and other income sources to continue to bring out travel nurses. That was really kind of at the highlight. one thing I think that they were kind of showing us as well that is kind of mitigating some of the issues. They really are doing a lot of telemedicine. They're doing a lot of rounding with hospitalists and other specialties, and they look to continue to develop that. So I think that's kind of their trajectory now, to be able to maintain the services. Is going to be if they continue to have issues with doctors and doctors resigning, and that telemedicine is kind of going to be the go-to. I really do feel for them, because if you see a lot of the plans they laid out, and it really probably would even be worth watching in its entirety. The presentation was very thorough, and a lot of their plans are very close to completion. Health records, and a lot of, like I said, the telemedicine in terms of that advancement, and things that they're doing really are on track. I mean, they really are completely hampered by this COVID situation, and so I'm sympathetic to that. But they seem to be on top of it in terms of maybe we're praying that this COVID situation subsides and they get back to regular business, and it looks like in that case they would be able to resume with all of the technologies that they're bringing in, and different things that they're doing to compensate for the issues of shortages.
Okay. We're going to head back into the Zoom room because we've got to check in with the National Weather Service. But I guess any final comments, anything? For me, I just want to know, have you guys gotten any word? Are we going to see a plan for ARP anytime soon?
Yeah, so I see Landon in here, and I just wanted to mention if he needs a report from Tamuning, that's why it's getting a lot darker. Here's my lighting, so sorry to the public. My artificial lighting isn't on right now. I thought natural lighting would be enough, but yeah, there hasn't been, and that remains to be disappointing, Bree. I think it's going to be really important in the coming days and weeks. One thing I think that's going to force it, Chris and Bree and Jay, I think one thing that's going to force this situation is the fact that we're starting the new fiscal year. And so as that comes about, and also we're going to probably start hearing from labor and other divisions in terms of the impact of the end of PUA and FPA. Yeah. So I think that hopefully what happens now is the natural forces, like natural weather, right. Kind of, leads to some disclosure. But I'm going to continue, and I think all members of the legislature, this is not a majority minority issue. You've heard from the speaker and others that, we really, really want to see the governor's plan. And I think a lot of people are becoming increasingly concerned that maybe with the new infrastructure money coming in that the congressman is represented on that opportunity, maybe the $300 million now needs to be used for other purposes to help our people as much as possible. So I would like to put that on the table. I think we need to continue to talk about that, because I think there's probably still near 10,000 people that are going to be out of work, and we've got to be very concerned about that. So I appreciate the time, guys. I know you got to move on.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. It's interesting
yeah,
that.
But yeah, Landon, it's big clouds over here in Tamuning. Take care, you guys.
There you go. I don't know how
Stay safe.
scientific
Look
that
forward
is.
to the report. Stay safe,
Right.
you guys. God bless.
Big clouds, Tamuning.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know we are going to go to Landon with the weather, but pertinent to that, Janela Carrera from Public Health just sent a WhatsApp message